All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are live. We are live on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Substack. Good morning. I'm Maisha T. Hill. I am the founder of Check Your Privilege, the curator of Heal Your Way Forward, the author of Heal Your Way Forward. And I'm really grateful to be with everyone this morning as we have a conversation. I am on a mission to sell and give away, and there's a different word than sell. 3,000 copies of Heal Your Way Forward in the next 30 days. And is it possible? Yes. How do we know it's possible? Because when you know and you believe in yourself, sometimes you got to get a little, I don't like saying this word, but I'm going to say it, delusional. And so while I'm going live today to help regulate my nervous system and ground myself into the content, I'm going to try to make a bracelet. So as you can see, these are my bags that I use until I get my storage containers. I usually make the Heal Your Way Forward bracelets, but I actually was requested to make some blue bracelets because I remember there was a time in after the election, everybody wanted blue bracelets. And so I'm gonna make you a blue Heal Your Way Forward bracelet. And I actually believe I have a workbook that it comes with. I need to go look at my content, but I actually created a whole blue bracelet conversation guide. I'm going to find it and I'll probably put this together. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, the main point of this is over the next 30 days, I am going to be um, talking about healing our way forward and really centering breaking the addiction to whiteness. It is something that I teach in, there are two addictions that I talk about, anti-blackness and whiteness. And so for this month, I'm focusing on that addiction to whiteness. And then next month, I may go into anti-blackness. Who knows? But following the energy of heal your way forward, why is it important and how does it tie in? So when I wrote this book, Heal Your Way Forward, which if you click the link in the bio, and if you're watching on Instagram, you might see the ticker of where you can actually get it. Good morning. You can call me Maisha. Sorry, this is teacher Maya Papaya. Call me Maisha, please. Y'all don't be calling me ma'am. Don't be calling me miss. Call me Maisha like we BFFs, okay? But this book was birthed 3 years ago because I really believe that liberation work, social justice work, anti-racism work, whatever people are calling it, it's all healing work, and it requires you to like really look at your shadows, get clear on the ancestor work you need to do. I think that's a new chapter I need to put in this book actually. If I were ever to do a second edition, which I'm considering, I would actually add a chapter on the importance of ritual and ancestor work for people in white bodies because that's something that many people aren't talking about. But when I think about healing our way forward, I think about, well, what are people healing forward from? And you have your advanced early childhood experiences, right? You have the traumas within the systems. You have how you have perpetuated harm. You have so many ways that you have been in it and of it. And so when we're talking about healing our way forward, it's how can we, I think Desiree calls it being parallel systems. When I just simply say you can be in it and not of it, right? So how can you be in this system and not of this system while co-creating the reality that we actually want to move to towards liberation? And I'm grateful to say for the last 8 years, I've been doing that. I have been operating in a parallel mindset. In our current collective community, the Heal Your Way Forward Collective, we have just began a new practice and a new process to really engage folk in a cohort model of what it really means. What is the Heal Your Way Forward process? What does that look like? How do we start and how do we begin? I'm really, really excited about the work that our team has done to actually bring that to life and bring that into fruition. And so really, really grateful for that. But I want to talk about why it's super important to heal forward from the addiction to whiteness. I think that, no, it's all good. I think that on Substack today, I'm started a series that will come out every Wednesday, followed by another live I'll do today with people who are actually recovering from whiteness and really trying to understand what that means. So if you follow our Substack, you will see over the next week, once a week. If you're not a paid subscriber, you get get one free article a month. Okay, so paid subscribers will get the whole series for the month. And if you're not a paid subscriber on Substack, you'll probably just see today's article. Hey, Monica, thank you for being here. Super grateful when I see community join, and I'm grateful you're here. Hope Cats, Coffee and Morning. Thank y'all for staying tuned into this conversation. Now, I'm going to be looking around because there are 3 cameras. There's so much in front of me. So be mindful if I don't get to your comments in real time, but please comment. Hey, Abia, please comment. It is very important that you comment because when you comment, I can tap into Source and Source can give me more to share. Another thing that people don't know about me is I'm also intuitive, clairvoyant, and a lot of the information that I share are from the ancestors. It is from the work. None of what I do, let me just be very clear. None of what I do is original. Everything in our life, everything on our journey has been birthed from something else. So nothing I talk about is original. I used to live by this idea, like when I was caught up in whiteness, my addiction to whiteness. People are stealing from me. People are taking my content. Oh my God. Like I think I almost said something this morning. I got a really good reframe from my friend in real time. No. First of all, if it wasn't for Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde, Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have. So this is not original. This is just me taking what they said and putting it to work and reminding us that actually we have the blueprints. We just need to work them. We need to work through them. That is the embodiment of my work, working through the work of the ancestors because they left the blueprints. And if I were to say, oh, this is original and I created this, maybe I curated a space, maybe I curated agreements, but everything that we do in life comes from divine inspiration. And I just want us to remember that. Everything we do comes from a divine inspiration. And so I have a question already about, can a Black person recover from assimilating and catering to whiteness? And I want to actually be honest and say yes, because I am that Black person who was forced into assimilated and catered to whiteness. And when I was in the 9-9 portal last night, because I had a really interesting day, I told myself I would not wake up the same. And I really feel resonant with that energy today. I am not waking up the same. So back to the addiction to whiteness. Where did this idea come from? Okay, well, first of all, in 2020, when I was channeling heavy, I just looked at the camera and I was just like, y'all are addicted to privilege. Because I started to make the connection between addiction and privilege. And it wasn't until I read the book by Bell Hooks, Sisters of the Yam, Black Women in Self-Recovery, where she started talking about addiction. And she was telling Black women, Black women specifically in that book, we have to break our addiction to whiteness, to being, seen as, I think Toni Morrison says, the white gaze, or that could be Patricia Hill Collins, right? And then there's another quote by Bell Hooks in a paper, and I'm trying to find the paper. It used to be saved on my old hard drive, and now I can't find it. But she basically says that white people, in order for white people to truly do this work, they have to break their addiction to whiteness and decenter themselves. And then she connected that to another book that I'm going to share more about. I might even just break down the whole Substack article on this. That's called When Society Becomes an Addict. And the person who wrote that book was a white presenting Indigenous woman whose work, I never heard of this woman, but I looked at her work, a white woman, an Indigenous presenting white woman. And I was like, wait a minute. So Bell Hooks and her, and then I looked at my work and I'm like, wow, I'm getting inspired by so many ancestors to like really be about this work around addiction. And so she said that, and I remember talking about addiction and privilege, and I remember sitting with my coach. I had a coach a couple of years ago, and I said, I just don't know what to do. And at that time, I was still drinking. It was in the spring of 2020. Hey, Juliet. Yes, I love this, Abia. We're learning from each other, reciprocal ancestral dynamics. I just spoke to that without reading your comment. Crazy. Not crazy, but exciting. And I remember like saying, man, I'm like, I know people are addicted to privilege. And I'm just like, man, but it's deeper than that. Because I have to perform. I have to assimilate. I have to have a weave. She was like, you have to do those things. Why? And I'm like, whiteness. And then I was like, oh my God, that's an addiction to whiteness. And so we were talking and she said, well, how are you going to talk about this? And I said, I'm going to tell my story. Because the thing that you'll find if you go in the link and you get this book, and if you're on Instagram, it's tickering along too. A lot of people are like, is that book just for white people? I have met Black and Indigenous people who asked me, who were like, damn, I saw myself in the story. Or damn, what do you mean white people actually take these words and try to practice it? And then I just actually told someone I'm actually going to write a couple workbooks to go with this. So I'm going to take the journal prompts for white bodies and make a deeper workbook. And then I'm going to do a workbook for Black, Indigenous, and people of color to go with this because I feel like it. Because it's all about healing forward. But back to the addiction to whiteness. And the very first image, and check your privileges down so I can't show you the graphic, but I might be able to pull it up in my cell phone, where I just started off with white people aren't the only ones addicted to whiteness. And what it was just a meme where it was me with, I call it my Danielle Laporte phase. And I'm so glad these images don't come up on Google like they used to. They might be on my old Facebook business page though. But there's a picture of me at the beach with like this green cutoff shirt and like all this weave, like this beautiful weave. And I did my own makeup and it was beautiful. So I love my makeup that day. And it was me saying that this is me subscribing to whiteness and looking presentable and wearing a weave. And then there was me with my natural, you guys tell me underneath here, it's usually a small afro, a tapered fade, or I'm just completely, I have no hair. I'm in a season where I'm keeping my head covered right now. So you can't see that. And my friend calls it my Erykah Badu season. I'm in my Badu season. We call it Badu, Beyonce, and BTS. But you'll get to know me and you'll hear more about that. And from that moment on, I just talked about how all of us are in collusion with oppression when we tap into the addiction to whiteness. And so then I taught about that, taught on that. That was cool. And then I realized, I was like, let's do anti-Blackness, breaking the addiction to anti-Blackness. And in fact, our community is actually doing an addiction anti-Blackness replay for 5 days. So we'll talk more about that next month, right? And so I've been talking about the addiction to whiteness for, I'm going to say 5 years because it started as privilege. And then I met this dope pastor who I'm going to be going on Substack and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram later with at noon. Reverend David Alexander also has practices to recover from whiteness. And I'm actually going to ask him if we could do a recurring Wednesday. So if he's watching this, hopefully he'd do it, because I think it'll just be so dope to have a former pastor and a current pastor, a white male and a Black woman, just having conversations on the addiction to whiteness. I'm so excited to talk to him today. And I'm hoping it's a yes, even if it's not Wednesday. But it's just like, now's the time. So today on Substack, and everyone can, I think this is a free article. It talks about addicted to whiteness, and it talks about naming a pattern, which is urgency as addiction. And how we talk about urgency is one of the core tenets of white supremacy culture. But it's not just a habit, it's an addiction. And it is compulsive and it's rewarded because it's rooted in fear, performance, and disconnection from our full humanity. Thank you for the gifts, Hope, here on TikTok. I'm not sure how people give gifts, but thank you. And it really is really important that we understand, right? When we talk about the tenets of white supremacy culture, I shout out to Tima Akun, right? She gets credit. But Keena Reed, who is a Black DEIJ consultant, reminds all of us that actually the work is not just one person. It was co-created by Kenneth Jones and a circle of Black folks and co-conspirators. Because, right, we live in this white culture where we have to center one person and not the whole collective. And I think that's why I am so big on saying the Heal Your Way Forward collective, because the collective is the movement, not Maisha T. Hill, right? Like, I am learning so much about our collective. We get together on Sundays and we do these Sunday sessions. And we had, hey, Ingenious, good to see you. And we do these Sunday sessions where we really go deeper, and I'm grateful for the team for creating this experience. And so I just want to say, when you talk about the tenets of white supremacy culture and you're talking about Tima Okun, make sure you also talk about Kenneth Jones and the other folks that helped do this. But I go a little bit deeper because I don't just talk about Tima Okun. I talk about Judith Katz and Associates. And Judith Katz is still alive. I actually should reach out to her myself. And she actually has this document she created in the 90s. Okay, these conversations have been happening if you don't know it. Hey, Britt, thanks for being here. And it's called Aspects and Assumptions of White Supremacy, Aspects and Assumptions of White Culture in the United States. And so it's in the Substack article. I've embedded it. So if you want to go look at the chart, it's on Substack. Again, this is the free article of the month on urgency as an addiction. And one of the things that came up was aesthetics. And that is the women's beauty based on Blonde, Thin, and Barbie. And that's why it was important for me to talk about addiction to whiteness, because we still are struggling with I actually want to say white beauty standards, right? And that is white, culturally white, because in my culture, you could be any size and you're still beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a system that seeks to destroy you. And so I thought it was really important to really, it is Recovery Awareness Month, to really bring back the work of addiction to whiteness and make some of the core tenets of the work we do at Heal Your Way Forward. The center is Heal Your Way Forward as a practice. And we're healing forward from the addiction to whiteness and anti-Blackness. And we do that because what we've learned, as I've taught these workshops over and over and over again, is that we've learned that when you center Black joy and pro Black solidarity, that's where the true healing is happening. And we're learning that in our collective because we literally every week there is a Black liberation prompt, there is some Black liberation research. And it's not just us thinking. We even have two of our super creative members. Shout out to Sam, who writes here on Substack sometimes, and Tommy, Tommy, they actually have us in Canva. So we're not just journaling, we're actually creating art and we're dreaming and we're coming up with ideas. And it's just a really, really beautiful practice. Yes, please if you don't have Teachers of the Yam, I need to update our bookstore on Bookshop, because on Bookshop, I'm going to start putting the books that I talk about a lot on Bookshop and also on TikTok Shop, so that y'all can, every time you get something from Bookshop or TikTok Shop, it supports our collective. And it supports, on Bookshop, it supports Analog Dope, which is a Black bookstore here in Las Vegas. But addiction to whiteness is not a new concept. It's something that I've added on to, and I have formulated 12 steps to like really break that addiction. And I'm also going to work with the collective to begin our 12-step recovery group around addiction to whiteness. And I think it's important for me to do that because when I'm 2 years in, just about, from recovering from alcohol, and I got to keep it real with y'all. AA is great. Like, shout out to everyone who's gone to AA. But a lot of these programs are still inherently anti-Black. And as someone who is trying to heal from anti-Black spaces and has curated a space in collective and in community, it's important for me to use some of the 12-step practices that we have and really make that a part of who we are and what we believe as a collective at Heal Your Way Forward. And so I'm grateful for that. So when we talk about addiction and we talk about addiction to urgency, we really are looking for validation instead of truth. And we see the lessons of 2020, right? So we were listening and learning in 2020, and I was teaching in 2020, but we weren't embodying it. And shout out to the teachers like Lama Rod and Resma McKenna and others who were in 2020 saying, hey, your body is so important. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for being here, talking about today's Substack post, addiction to urgency. And I want to go back to that because some people were telling you to be in your bodies, but most of us were reactionary. We were reacting to the moment, not responding to the moment. And in hindsight, I see why we are where we are today, because we didn't embody the wisdom that 2020 taught us. We are still navigating anti-Blackness now more. I would say more, or the reminder that it's never gone anywhere. And we're choosing urgency of building relationships instead of trusting the messy middle. Shame is the engine that fuels urgency. And when we mess up, we proved to what we rush to prove what we've learned. And when we're called in, we want to just fix it so we're not seen as bad. So it's easier to move towards validation than it is to sit in the discomfort of causing harm. And so white supremacy culture rewards us for being urgent, for being professional. But the reality is that there's no amount of urgency that's going to protect us from our human experiences. And so, urgency was my cover, what I'm saying? Urgency allowed me to have a really big platform. I didn't have a big platform. Like, check your privilege blew up because of George Floyd. I say that all the time. Someone had to die for my work to be seen and valued. And that should have been my sign right there. Like, this is not sustainable. A Black man had to die for me and my work and my words to be seen as valuable. And that's actually heartbreaking. I'm grateful for the time that I was able to serve on the board of directors for the George Floyd Foundation. I want to shout out my friend Jakari, who had me a part of that. But the fact that I have to sit with this, I had a platform that blew up because of Black death, is something that I still wrestle with every day. And the more I think about like that platform going down, and eventually it'll come back, but it probably will be called something else, because the real message is check your privilege was the mother, the parent, the birth of Heal Your Way Forward. We would not be able to have Heal Your Way Forward without check your privilege. And it was I remember talking to Row House in 2021. Please go to the link and grab your copy, please. Thanks. And I remember saying, no one is embodying this. This is healing work. This is healing work. And they were like, and I have quotes by Oprah and just everyone's like, how did you come up with the title? Every time I would get super depressed and even dealing with postpartum depression, I remember my mom showing me something from Oprah about moving forward. And growing up to a Black single mother in America, it's feel your feelings, but keep moving forward. Feel your feelings, but keep moving forward. And I remember those words, whether it's Oprah, whether it's my lived experience having a Black single mother. It's all about feeling it, facing it so you can do something about it and moving forward. And it's a pretty powerful message if you think about it. And so I was sitting in this meeting and I was like, heal your way forward. And then I think it was Kristen who was like, oh yeah, the guide to an anti-racist future. Right. And so in that moment, it was heal your way forward, the co-conspirators guide to an anti-racist future. Oh, thank you, Abia. I cry all the time. I cried last night. I'll be crying on live. People be like, ooh. I'll be like, if you can't let people see your full humanity, if you can't let people see that you're a human being and you emote, we are performing. I don't exist to perform. Like, no way. I want you to see my full humanity, because when you see my full humanity, it is my hope that it gives you permission to see your own humanity. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to release. You have to get things out. You can't just hold on to it. I want to just go to something that Abia said on Substack, which is truth and knowledge is intersectional. And Abia carries this book with her for that reason. I got to see you some bracelets now because that's getting me all emotional. Because that's the reminder. Like, that is the reminder. It's not optional. Like, your work has to be intersectional. It has to be wrestling with your anti-Blackness and your addiction to whiteness. And why I love this idea of addiction to whiteness is because the reality is we all got it. We live in this world of like binary, like everything is binary. And then everything is like, well, you're this and I'm not. I just had my friend tell me, he's like, why are you over here saying what people done to you when you know you've caused harm to people? I was literally here before I was going live harping about how this person is this and this is that. And oh my, and they were just like, you've done it too. You've done it too. You've caused harm too. Why are you sitting here acting like you're so innocent? You know what I'm saying? But anyways, excuse my ramble. We are groomed. I remember that I recently taught a couple folks with TikTok joined me for an idea I had around the cult of oppression. Like, that's a whole chapter in the book I'm working on now. It is a cult. No. Yes, oppression is the cult and whiteness is the ritual, which is why we're addicted to it. That's exactly what I said. Thank you. Abia, if you can remember that, that would be helpful. Write down for me. Oppression is the cult and whiteness is the ritual. And that's why we're so tapped into it, because they're ritualized into it. Everything is the ritual of whiteness. Woo, I feel this right now. Oppression is the cult and whiteness is the ritual. You are groomed in the cult and you are ritualized to uphold whiteness at any cost. So how do you break free from the spell of whiteness? How do you break the ritual? For me, what I had to learn, I had to sit back and look at history. History is always our teacher, y'all. History is always our teacher. I just want you to know that. Even right now, this moment in time, this is Jim Crow to the civil rights to the the 60s. Right now, we're living in the 40s. This is a repeat of after Reconstruction that never really happened. And we learned that if you read 1619 Projects and stand from the beginning, this is literally a duplication of history, and we can change it if we would just go look and pull the lessons instead of trying to create new shit. But we don't listen because we're human. Tam, what was I saying? Long COVID has my brain like, oppression is the cult, whiteness is the ritual. How do you break the ritual? You look in history. I started looking at people who have been oppressed culturally. I was like, who's got reparations? I'm like, what is the one group in this country who has not had reparations, who have been set up for failure since enslavement? I said, oh shit. What if the way to break the addiction or the ritual of whiteness is by centering Black liberation and pro-Black solidarity? If you do the Addiction to Anti-Blackness challenge, you're going to get to that point. And I had to start seeing, how can we test this out? And I think in the recording, this is what we did for a couple of sessions. We watched a replay of, I think it was Ahmaud Arbery's death. And we watched what happened to our energy, all of us. And I was like, okay, that's that whiteness ritual. Black death is normal. Black death it's just what happens here, right? And Black death right now, this is modern day eugenics for Black people, and it's modern day lynching. Black death by the hands of police is a modern day lynching. We could just keep it real, right? And so then we waited, we took a break, came back. I turned on Soul Train. And I mean, oh, Soul Train. If you know, like, you know how there was American Dancing and then there was Soul Train, and everybody's energy switched like that. It flips a switch. It might be temporary, to your point, Abia, but there is something when you watch Black people in their joy and their humanity, and you want to work to be a part of that joy and humanity, and you want to center that in your liberation work. There it is. That is my working theory. Like, if I were to go back to school and get a PhD, right? Yes. If you can, absolutely. And if you want a book, let me, oh no, I think you got a book. So let me know if you need extras and we can campaign for extras too. If we want to break the ritual and the addiction to whiteness, yes, be intersectional, but watch what happens when you actually center Black liberation and pro-Black solidarity. Why am I saying center that? What if we centered the whole time? And who do we keep putting in the back burner? Do you guys know why I don't say BIPOC anymore? If you look at any of my old books, which I'm actually about to re-edit, the second editions of my old books, I don't say BIPOC anymore. I don't say women of color anymore. Because my friend Kina and others are like, no, we need people to, there was a time where it's like, oh no, don't say Black. Y'all remember that? Depending on your age, you knew not to say Black. It was like, ooh, Black is taboo, especially if you're in the white bodies. It was like, Black is taboo, don't say Black. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that. TikTok, my tablet's about to die, so you might want to jump on. Heal Your Way Forward on YouTube, Maisha T. Hill on Instagram. Check Your Privilege on Facebook or Substack. But I just remember what it meant for me to grow up Black. Like, no matter being in a white suburb, my mom still gave me Black experiences. She took me to the Black community. She took me shopping to the Black community. She took me to Kwanzaa events. We celebrated Kwanzaa. I remember my white friends was like, what's Kwanzaa? And somebody was like, is that like Hanukkah? Because it's the same time. And all I knew to say back then was, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like Hanukkah. You know what I'm saying? But like, what happens when you take Kwanzaa and you make it 365 days a year and you're celebrating all 7 principles in a community of white folks? I might test that out the new year and let y'all know how it goes. What happens when you use the tenets of Sankofa and when you teach white folks and people in white bodies, who were you before you were white? That is the most important question, that if you are in a white body, to really even, this is why I need to write a new chapter in this book for white bodies and for us, for Black and Indigenous people of color. Who were you before you were white? So I don't use BIPOC and I don't use women of color anymore because it takes away from the word Black. And I want to center Black liberation, Black solidarity, pro-Black solidarity in everything that I do moving forward. If I am not centering pro-Black solidarity and Black liberation, and all I'm doing is talking about whiteness and white people and white bodies and what white people ain't doing, and not saying, hey, what you can do, what you can try to do, what you can work on is healing your way forward. But that requires you to break the addictions to whiteness and anti-Blackness, because they're addictions. If oppression is the cult, whiteness is a ritual and anti-Blackness is a ritual. How can I know this is true? Because my lived experience has always shown me. And there is a beautiful essay by Bell Hooks that's also in my phone about what white people look like in the Black imagination. I found that from another book. I am like, if I could be a Bell Hooks scholar, I probably would. If I did go back to school, I'd probably go to Berea College where she taught, and I'd get a PhD in Bell Hooks and do a whole body of work on Bell Hooks, the scholarly work of Bell Hooks and what it's calling us to do. I thought I'd go back to school on addiction to whiteness, and I realized just right now in this moment, no. Because when you really go deep and you really look at the work of Bell Hooks, and you look at Audre Lorde, and you look at Black feminists, Black womanists, Black non-binary, Black queer folk, Black lesbian, when you look at that work, that is the answer. And the problem is that patriarchal white feminism, or what I call white patriarchal feminism, what it has done is it has taken and co-opted, which is not a surprise. It has co-opted Black liberation and Black womanist, Black feminist ideology, not theology. Sorry about that. Because my lived experience shows me, like, I've gone through so much in the last 6 months of the things that my ancestors said last night and this morning. I'm like, bet, got it. Like, I've been going live twice a day for the last 3 days because I'm like, who am I and what am I called to be and what am I called to do? Oh, bet, got it. So while the beginning of my work was Check Your Privilege, and we have these 2 Check Your Privilege books, and we're shifting. Check Your Privilege will never not be a part of who I am, but now we're healing our way forward. It's with intention. Check Your Privilege is with intention. But again, I want to go back to saying this. My work only became popular because a Black man had to die. Plenty of Black women, Black trans women, Black trans men have died since then as well. To know that that was fueled by Black death does not sit well in my spirit. And I'm too real to not say that anymore. I'm too real to not be honest to say, Check Your Privilege blew up because a Black man had to die. And everybody was looking for an answer. But my message has never fit into the narrative of social justice, maybe restorative and transformative justice, but I also don't want to be in a binary of an industrial complex. I believe that social justice, nonprofit, all of these are all industries. And you know it's an industry because now if you look at the social justice industrial complex, you have people saying, if this, then that. That is a binary. And part of liberation is freedom, and freedom is to be in it and not of it, to move out of the binary. While everyone is focusing on systems, I'm over here like it starts with us, our relationships, and then the system. We have to operate in a system that's functioning the way it was set up functioning. Donald Trump ain't doing nothing new. It's impacting people in white bodies because you're losing your privilege, because he's taking away rights of not just Black and brown folks, but white folks. And you're living in the terror of actually watching literally fascism in real time. And yet the ancestors told y'all this. You weren't really listening to Dr. King. You were listening to whitewash Dr. King. You weren't listening to Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde. You were just wondering why Toni Morrison didn't write about you in her books. But if you really look at a Toni Morrison book, you can ask yourself, what is this teaching me? And how can I deal with my fear of Black people in my body as a white person and really understand, what does pro-Black solidarity and liberation work look like if we really want to go there? If we really want to heal our way forward, you do have to reckon with this. I just had a call with someone last week. I do one-on-one calls too. If anyone needs coaching, let me know. I think I'm going to open up 6 spots, but they're 6-month spots. And it's really, really so important that if you know you had ancestors that owned enslaved bodies, you have work to do around that. You have ritual work to do around that. You have forgiveness work for you to do that because it still shows up in you. And how do I know? Because when you look at my genealogy and you see that my great, 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 great grandmother was born into slavery, and the way that she was co-created was by a person who owned slaves. You know what that tells me? My relationship with power is from the bloodline of the white man that did what he did to my great, 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 great grandmother, too. I could have a mulatto grandmother. Mulatto meant black and white. She could pass as white. So I have to wrestle with the part of me that has whiteness literally in me to do my internal work around that. But see, we don't want to keep it real and have these real conversations around what healing looks like, because it is better, like I say in Heal Your Way Forward, it is better to perform your healing than to actually practice it. And this is why it's important to heal your way forward and break your addiction to whiteness and anti-Blackness. That's real talk. And so, in closing, I want to leave space. If anybody has any reflections or questions, please put them in the comments. Please put them, leave comments on Substack, send an email. But also, again, this is me really trying to put the effort into getting copies of this book into the hands that need it. 3K in 30 days. Today is day 28. And if everyone was to go to the link in the bio, to click 3K in 30 day, or it's if you're on, you can see it scrolling at the bottom, you definitely make a contribution. And maybe you work at an organization. Happy to, I have a level for folks at organizations. Happy to get 10 books and I come in and speak to your organization for 30 minutes. It's all folded in. Everything is folded in. That's how serious I am. I'm so serious. I'm actually going to go to the Dollar Tree, get some poster boards, and I'm literally going to walk down the street with a poster board and a QR code because I believe in myself. And that's why else I'm going live like this, because I believe in myself. Because I have too many people betting against me. I have too many people telling me that I'm not sellable, that healing is not sellable, that heal your way forward is not sellable. So when people don't believe in you, you have to believe in yourself in such a delusional way that you are not proving a point to anybody but yourself. I'm not here to be sellable and I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to give a message, and the message is actually rooted in love. And people aren't ready for that because in a society that is rooted in trauma, drama, and conflict, love feels like poison. That is why 2 years ago, someone sent an email to their whole community and said, stay away from Aisha, she's dangerous. If love is dangerous, then baby, let's have more of it. Because that's what we're actually being called to be in right now. Love, accountability, action, collective community. Notice I'm saying collective community because some of these communities are actually cults. Some of you think you're in communities, but you're actually subscribed to stuff that you are putting someone on a pedestal because you don't love or believe in yourself. I'm not about that life. You shouldn't be about that either. So we got Abia saying amazing. Yes, yes, ma'am. Love isn't taming. It's in our internal systems. That's why I love IFS. Working on that too. I got to send an email to the team at IFS. I do talk about IFS in my work, but IFS, if we want to keep it real, before the certifications, it's rooted in indigenous knowledge that we are one person with many parts and many spirits that guide us on the journey that is indigenous. And that is the work that I'm called to do. Whatever label you put it on, spiritual, I got people calling me spiritual teacher, spiritual guru. I am not your guru. I am not anything but a person on a human experience guiding journeys. That's it. And you have ways to get involved. Grab a copy of Heal Your Way Forward. If getting ready to start, we can do it at work. We'll talk about that another time. Sign up for the Addiction to Whiteness. It is a 90-minute, usually I do it over 4 weeks. It is 90 minutes. There are 3 cohorts this month. There will be 3 cohorts next month. There will be 3 cohorts in November. And I'm considering relaunching my 1-year Breaking the Addiction program. I don't know yet. There are cohorts because there's work that I have to do on the back ends around writing. So That workshop does have costs, but everything that we do not turn around people for their inability to pay. So if you want to take a workshop and the price is too high, you need to send an email. Show up for yourself. Hey, Maisha, I want to take Addiction to Whiteness. I cannot afford it right now. This is what I have. Or in exchange, I can write a testimonial. Or in exchange, I can write a blog post on Substack. We got to be in the system and not of it, because not everybody can do capitalism. But if you have a gift that you want to offer, let's do it. Back in my day when I was younger, I would hear my grandmother talk about, and my mother talk about trade and barter. That is the season that we're in, friends. This is the season that I've been talking about for 2 years. Somebody might need a meal. If you don't know your neighbors, get to know your neighbors. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know your neighbors, get to know your neighbors. We're going to need each other. There are some things that are just coming down the pipeline. I feel it. In our collective, I had to reschedule our build an emergency kit, but we're going to be building emergency kits. We have someone who's showing us how to cook Dutch ovens. Navigation. I'm telling y'all, we got to be ready. We got to be ready. So thank you for tuning in. I did not know that this live was going to be this long today, and that's okay. I really appreciate y'all for watching and supporting me in the work of Check Your Privilege and now Heal Your Way Forward. I look forward to this rebirth. I look forward to growing with y'all. I look forward to writing workbooks for folk. 2 workbooks. Actually, there's like 5 workbooks, but we're going to start with one at a time. I'm going to channel the energy that I have around this in this moment. But I'm so grateful for all of you who joined me on the live, whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Substack. I love each and every one of you. I will be live at noon on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Substack again, hopefully talking about the addiction to whiteness. So there's never a place where you can't hang out with me twice a day. And until I see y'all again, keep living into your work. Again, I'm going to work on my blue bracelets. Yes, Monica, I'm so glad your spirit is lifted. Bring some friends. Abia, send me a chat, send me a message. Abia is a beautiful member of our collective. I think I have something for you, Abia. It's in my heart. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. And if you ever have questions about anything that I've said to you, look at it, look it up, research it, bring it back to me if I'm wrong. Because I always want to be a person of accountability. I never want to give y'all information that you're blindly following or blindly believing. Please, if you like, hey, you said this, can you cite your source? And I want to let y'all know, y'all ask me for stuff and I forget. So I don't check Instagram DMs anymore. I do check emails and I do reach out on Substack. So much love to y'all. If you're a member of the collective and you want to join us in writing on Substack, we do have collective members that write on Substack as well. So stay tuned for more stories from folks in white bodies. I write on Substack once a week, which is Wednesdays. And then my own personal stuff that I'm actually so excited about, just being Maisha and the stuff that I want to work on outside of Heal Your Way Forward, because we're multidimensional beings and I'm super creative and I'm accepting that for myself. Maybe autistic and ADHD is a gift and not the curse that I thought it was my whole life. So peace, much love, get you some rest today, find you some joy. And I'll see y'all tonight at 7 p.m. Much love to you. I need to end everything. So peace. Oh, I'm still online. Oops. Bye, y'all.